Back in January, I made it a goal of mine to save $140,000 by the end of 2021. At that time, I had a net worth around $70,000, which means I had to double it by the end of the year, which was a super aggressive goal. Fast forward 6 months and I just hit 100K, which means I'm halfway towards my goal. Right on track. Here's how I'm doing it. But before I start, there's 2 fairly large caveats to keep in mind that have made this journey a lot easier for me. Number 1, Quebec, where I'm from, has the lowest tuition costs in all of North America, at least for local residents. This has allowed me to graduate with $0 in student loans because it's dirt cheap. Number 2, I'm lucky enough to be able to live with my parents, which cuts down on expenses by a lot. If you're able to do this or live with roommates, I highly recommend doing so. But regardless of these 2 factors, I think anybody could apply these tips to their own lives and it will help to up their savings rates. Now, back to the video. Here's how I saved $100,000 by the age of 25. Number 1, I got a pay raise at my day job. I've been working at the same company now for the past 2 years. And in that time, I've actually taken on a lot more responsibility than when I started. So I figured I'm probably due for a pay raise. And actually, I've been thinking about it for a long time and I had this entire speech prepared, but I actually never had to ask for a raise. They just gave it to me. In fact, they didn't even tell me that they gave it to me. I was just looking at my pay stubs one day and suddenly I was making 11% more than I normally do. Needless to say, it was a pleasant surprise. That speech I prepared kind of went to waste though. Oh well. Number 2, I cut down my expenses to be as low as possible. I cut out everything that wasn't important to me. It got to the point where my own mom kept telling me I was cheap. But here's the thing, I don't mind spending money as long as it brings me long-term value. So I will mull over purchases for weeks and months till I commit to them, just to make sure it's something that I actually need rather than want. Another thing you could do to help control your spending is to use apps that help to track your money inflows and outflows. Something about being able to visually see where your money is going is super helpful. It almost scares you into being frugal. I personally really like an app called Mint. It's super popular and it's free. All you have to do is download the app and link your bank accounts and your brokerage accounts and anything else that you might want to track. You can even categorize your different purchases and create budgets for each type, and the app will notify you whenever you start to reach those thresholds. Not sponsored, I just really like the app. Number 3, I invested the majority of my income. Naval Ravikant says, you won't get rich renting out your time. You need to own equity, a piece of a business to gain your financial freedom. The point of making money in the first place is so you no longer need to think about making money. In order to do this, you need to find a way to disconnect the amount of money you make from the number of hours you work. And there's really 2 roads that lead to this path. Number 1 is starting your own business and owning that business. Or number 2 is investing in assets that earn while you sleep. Now, seeing as I'm a pretty lazy person, I opted into investing. About 90% of my money is invested in some kind of asset, with the majority of that being in blue chip company stocks and a much smaller portion being in riskier assets like cryptocurrencies. My investing strategy is out of the scope of this video, but in brief, I keep various spreadsheets and reports to tell me about my gains and my losses and how much I'm being paid out in dividends from my assets. And every week I'll put aside a fixed amount of my income for investments, regardless of market conditions or how much I made that week. This is a priority for me, and I'll just repeat that week after week, and so far it's worked well for me. And that's pretty much it. Using those 3 things, I was able to save my first $100,000 at the age of 25, and I think that you can too. Now, I'm not an expert, but I'm super passionate about helping out people. So if you have any questions or you want me to go more in depth about anything I talked about, just let me know down below. And until next week, peace.